everybody. It's Kelly Russell, the Rock Your Joy Coach. Thanks so much for joining me today and welcome to my channel. So, my topic for today is looking at the world as if it is a school. And then the Course in Miracles is our particular curriculum within this Earth School or School of the World. So, one of the reasons why I like to look at things this way is because for me, being able to look at the world as a school just takes the whole sort of angst thing about the world and making it feel personal to me down a notch. And, when you think about going to school, we don't know who our classmates are going to be, or whether our teachers are going to be nice, or whether they're going to be mean. We don't know whether we're going to love the subject matter, or whether we're going to hate it, or not understand it, or we don't know whether who will be bullies and who will be BFFs. But we know that we have to be there for a certain amount of time because we got to learn stuff and we got to graduate. That's the hope anyway. And then move on to whatever the next thing is. And so a couple of things about it. So first of all, I think of in the curriculum of A Course in Miracles as the text, the 600 and something page text as being the theoretical foundation and the required reading as such, and the workbook as being the 365 lessons that we have to learn, and the manual for teachers as ultimately instructing us as how we become teachers of the material. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. And eventually that this course helps us to graduate. And so what's different about the Course in Miracles being our curriculum as opposed to schools that we attend in the world of form, in schools in the world, the whole purpose for going through school is to learn how the world works and how to sort of utilize the world and how to live in it and how to succeed in it and all of that. So the purpose for going through the Holy Spirit's curriculum of A Course in Miracles is almost the polar opposite. It is actually how to unlearn everything that the world has already taught us. And that's really what the Course in Miracles is. It's a curriculum of unlearning instead of a curriculum of learning. The idea that the knowledge is already present within us, but it is not accessible to us because it is covered over by the belief system that the world has taught our conditioned minds, our egos, and so what we need to do in order to be able to graduate, and graduating in my mind is reaching enlightenment. It is recognizing and having the full awareness of our oneness. It is, as the Course in Miracles calls, the atonement. The atonement is the guiding principle of the thought system of A Course in Miracles, which is that there is no world, that the separation from God never occurred. But that is the belief system, that is the thing that we have learned, that's the erroneous thing that we have learned that has caused this whole world to be here. And so when we think about the Course in Miracles as being the curriculum, what I think of relationships as being are the lab where we blow stuff up and we combine things together and we make toxic concoctions and noxious fumes and make experiments that go terribly wrong, and start with the faulty hypotheses, and then we end up proving to ourselves the faulty hypotheses. So this is where we do it, is in our relationships in the world. And so it's where our greatest learning and really our greatest unlearning takes place. And so that's really the what I wanted to talk about today is, so how do we do that, and how does the Course in Miracles use relationships to be able to help us unlearn the false all the false stuff that we have accepted as truth, and how instead the Course uses relationships to help us learn what the truth really is about ourselves and about everything else. And so the truth is, and what the single lesson, if we don't learn anything else from A Course in Miracles, the truth is that we are one. We are one with God. We are one with everyone in existence, that we are not only all brothers, and A Course in Miracles refers to us as the sonship, meaning one Son of God, and we are it. The Son of God isn't Jesus. The Son of God is all of us. And so that we started out as all being one, and then through this idea that we could ever be separate from God, which we formed a belief in, a momentary belief in, it just seems like it's gone on forever and ever and ever and freaking ever. We made this illusion and bought into, kind of fell asleep and dreamt up this dream of separation, this dream that we separated from God, that we separated from each other, and now we are all separate, different, isolated beings with our own jam going on, our own bodies, our own issues, our own problems, whatever. And that is really what we have to unlearn, is that we are separate in any way, and that any of that is even true. It isn't. And so the Course in Miracles is an unlearning process of that. And so when we go through stuff in the world, but we have this unconscious guilt that we are harboring, that because we believe that we separated from God, it means that we believe that we rejected God. It means that we believe essentially that we told God to fuck off, and that I'm gonna do me, and I don't need you, and so that never happened. But we have this mean substitute teacher telling us, with this voice in our ear all the time, telling us that that is what we did, and that we are horribly guilty, and that we are going to be punished by God. So we might as well get busy punishing ourselves first. And so that's what we do in the world. When we make up all these problems in the world, they're all coming as a projection from our unconscious guilt, that we believe that we separated from and rejected God, that we are now projecting this guilt onto the world. The world itself is a projection of our guilt. And then we see all of these issues and problems happening, and we attribute the fault and the blame of most of that stuff to our brothers. And the reason we do that is because it isn't true. It doesn't really work, but there's a belief that we need to be able to get rid of that guilt, and the only way that we can do it is to assign it to someone else. And so every single thing that seems to come up in our lives is just a projection of our unconscious guilt reflected in our brothers, because we don't want to take responsibility for the idea that we believe we separated from God. And yet when we do that, and when we learn that that is the only thing that we really have to learn, that is the one lesson that is being taught here, then those issues and problems actually are so much more easily solved. And they start to soften, they start to dissolve, they start to go away. And and yet we want to hold on to them, and we want to hold on to them because we want to be right, because we want to be the boss of ourselves. We want to be God in a sense. We want to be what we think is in charge. And yet us running this school, us trying to be the principal of this school that we're attending, I mean, how's that working out for you? I know that when I try to usurp that kind of power and make the decisions for my life and come from the place of my local self and my mind, it is coming from the place of fear. And so I'm listening to the wrong teacher instead of listening to the voice of love, the voice for God that is never going to steer me wrong. That is really who our professor is in this world. It's whether you call it Jesus or the Holy Spirit or your high self, or it doesn't matter the name that you call it by, but it is the voice of love in your mind that is always guiding you. Every decision that you make, it's always teaching you that you are innocent and that your brother is innocent. And the only way that we are ever going to learn the truth of ourselves, of our innocence, our wholeness, our perfection as an extension of the divine, is to see it in our brothers first. That's the teaching of A Course in Miracles. So the lab, well, you have your lab partners, and your lab partners are all of the people that you have relationships in your life, whether you love them, whether you hate them, whether you sometimes love them and then you hate them, whether you've never met them but you still have feelings and emotions and judgments around them. Those are your lab partners. And the way that we practice, and A Course in Miracles, there are a couple of practices that we employ that help us to unlearn and to recognize what the truth really is and learn the final lesson, which is the absolute truth that we're really here to learn. The first one is the forgiveness process, the process of true forgiveness as the Course teaches it, which is whenever there is any kind of a judgment that you're having about a brother, or a grievance that you have, or something is happening and it is not the way that you want it to be happening, for you, instead of making someone guilty or wrong or to blame or finding fault or condemning, judging, criticizing, any of that, it is to look at the situation and to remember that there is nothing to forgive here. So when I forgive, I'm forgiving you because I remember there is nothing to forgive. Why is there nothing to forgive? There's nothing to forgive because this is a dream. This is an illusion, a mass hallucination that we are projecting that any of this is happening. It's like blaming the movie screen for what is being shown on the movie. It's like blaming someone that was in your dream last night for what they did to you the next morning when you wake up. And so remembering that my forgiveness practice is not forgiving you, it is forgiving myself for dreaming that this whole thing is real, this whole gig is real. And as I do that, as I forgive myself and I remind myself that I'm dreaming an illusion that the ego mind made up, I forgive myself for that. I ask Spirit for the miracle. I ask Spirit to help me see this differently, to shift my perception from fear to love. And I release it to him to be healed. And that is the forgiveness process. And that is the central learning instrument that we have. We have that, and we have the ability to be able to see our brothers at all times in one of two ways. And this is what the Course teaches, is the correct perception of our brothers is to see them as either expressing love in the world or calling out for help, calling out for love. That those are the only two things a brother is ever doing. And in either case, love is the appropriate response. And love, in A Course in Miracles parlance, again, the expression of love, the miracle, is extending forgiveness, is offering forgiveness. And again, not offering forgiveness of the person for what they did, because that's making something that happened in a dream or an illusion or a hallucination real. It is offering forgiveness of yourself for your own erroneous perceptions. And so those are two learning tools that the Course gives us, learning activities that, when practiced over and over on a consistent basis, along with reading the text of A Course in Miracles and practicing the lessons of A Course in Miracles, will bring us to a place where we are unlearning and undoing all of the effects of the mean substitute teacher of the ego that we had been listening to previously, and allowing ourselves to truly be taught what the truth is of ourselves and our brothers by the most awesome professor of love of all time. And the one thing that I do want to say again about teaching is that the Manual for Teachers says that it's for anyone who wants to be a teacher of God. But A Course in Miracles also says that we are always to teach our brother what the truth of our brother is. And so as we are practicing forgiveness, and as we are seeing our brothers as calling for love or expressing love, and those are the only ways that we're seeing our brothers, that what we are teaching our brothers is that they are innocent, they are whole, they are pure, and they are perfect. And it is only in us teaching our brothers what they are that we can actually learn what we are. We are the same, we are the sonship, we are one. That is the truth of us. And so we can't hold another in a grievance without holding ourselves there too. So as we see our brothers, we see ourselves. So thank you so much for joining with me today. Thanks for being my schoolmate and for, rocking this whole educational system with me. I love having you here. If you like what you heard today, I invite you to hit the button below and subscribe to my channel. I'm here every week talking about practical ways to live A Course in Miracles and incorporate it into your life. If you would like some additional learning, you can click the link below, and specifically with regard to relationships and ACIM. You can download my Homestuck Survival Kit, which includes a podcast, a meditation, and a 5-step guide, all that have to do with giving you more tools and learning instruments for working with your lab partners in those relationships. And so I love you so much, and I look forward to seeing you next week.